Gore surrenders. I turned to my wife and I said, George Bush Jr. will attack Iraq right now. She goes, what? Where did this come from? And I go, he's an illegitimate president. Everybody knows it. He has to make himself legitimate. The only way to make yourself legitimate in this moment is to start a war. There's nobody in worse shape than Iraq. Because by that point, we had imposed catastrophic, brutal, cruel, inhumane crimes against humanity sanctions on Iraq. Sanctions that that made what we did to apartheid South Africa look like a joke. We cut off their food. We never cut off South Africa's food. We cut off their medicine. Who cuts off the medicine? We were going to grind Iraq into the dirt. And we were going to do it by literally strangling them and starving them. Madeleine Albright, Secretary of State for Bill Clinton. This is before she becomes Secretary of State. She was already in the Bill Clinton administration. She's interviewed by 60 Minutes. There are like 4 years, I think it was, I want to say it was 96. Don't quote me on the year, it might have been 95. I recently wrote something about this and I can't remember the year. She's being interviewed on 60 Minutes, and I think it was Leslie Stahl. Leslie Stahl says, according to the UN, 800,000 Iraqis have already died because of the sanctions. So the sanctions have already been in effect for 5 years. 800,000. It's more than 100,000 a year. And then Leslie Stahl says, and according to the UN, 500,000 are age 5 and under. We'd literally killed 500,000 babies already. Why? Because they invaded Kuwait? What were we gaining from putting these sanctions, these cruel, sadistic sanctions on Iraq? You're trying to get rid of Saddam Hussein by starving people to death? What are you doing? You're crippling the economy? You have to fight for this guy because you're killing us. Now we want vengeance. Now we have to defend the state against this foreign force that's doing this thing. And so Leslie Stahl goes, is it worth it? And Madeleine Albright goes, I wouldn't do it differently if I had to do it over again. It's ruthless. Instead of saying, yeah, this is clearly a big mistake. So, by the time we get to 2000, Iraq is ruined economically. Its people are dying of diseases that are curable because they don't have any medicine, and they're starving to death, literally starving to death. And so that was the perfect place to attack, especially because I figured he would lie about the weapons of mass destruction. Because we were already lying about the weapons of mass destruction. So why not keep the lie going? And then 9/11 happened. And I was like, wow, Osama bin Laden must be on George Bush Jr.'s side. He just handed him the best gift ever, because now he'll rally the people. He has his war. He doesn't need to make up a war. He's got his war. It was just given to him. And then in October, right, 9/11 being September, in October they published the results showing that George Bush had lost Florida. Timing is everything. And we didn't care. All we saw was dead Muslim bodies. That's all we could imagine was we needed vengeance. We didn't care who died. I swear, the way he picked Iraq was he took a globe and he spun it, closed his eyes, and he stuck his finger on it, and he went, everybody looked, he went, New Zealand, no, it's controlled by white Christians. Try again. Boom. Botswana! No, it's not Muslim. Try again. It's black though. No. Try again. And he's got his eyes closed. What is that? That's Finland. Can you aim here? Aim right anywhere in here. Boom, he lands on Iraq and everybody goes, oh, cool. Isn't that the country that did the revolution? No, that's Iran. I can never tell them apart. They're right next to each other. They're spelled the same. It's not the same. There's a Q in one and an N in the other. Oh, are those different letters? You know that conversation happened. That's the tragedy. So now we're going to go to war with Iraq because That's what he wants to do. He wants to go to war with Iraq. It's a good target. It's weak. And so they start an ad campaign after Labor Day. Why after Labor Day, you ask? Because that's when every good ad campaign starts. You start them after Labor Day. Every advertiser knows that. And the way they're doing it is they're connecting things. They're connecting things. They're saying Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein. And they just keep doing this. They just keep repeating the big lie over and over again. And the way they're doing it is just connecting the two names. They're bitter enemies. They hate each other's guts. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, Osama bin Laden offered to take Al-Qaeda to Saudi Arabia so that if Iraq attacked Saudi Arabia, he would be there to fight Iraq because he hated Saddam Hussein so much. And the Saudis went, no, you know what the Americans are offering? We're going to go with that one. And that actually made Osama bin Laden bitter because he was like, you're going to take the Americans over me? And we go to war against Iraq, a country that had never attacked us, never had the means to attack us, never tried to attack us. Isn't that weird? That had been our ally in the 80s. And it was just completely random. And it was brutal. According to Johns Hopkins, we killed 1.3 to 2 million Iraqis from 2003 to 2011 in an 8-year span of time. For a country that never attacked us, never had the means to attack us. Now, part of it was just plain old-fashioned racism. Americans, there was a group of Americans who couldn't put it into their head that 19 Arabs had hurt us so badly. It just seemed weird that these subhumans that we slaughter wholesale, we're killing them by the hundreds of thousands per year, could get us back in an act of vengeance like that. I mean, think about it. The small number for what we did in Iraq, the conservative number, from 1990 when we first implemented the sanctions to 2011 when we withdrew before we went back in 2014. So we're just doing that 21 years, 90 to 2011. The small number is 2.5 million Iraqis. The big number is 3.9 million. Let's do the small number. We don't have to do the big number. The small number is already a catastrophe, right? Hitler killed 5.1 to 5.4 million Jews, 2.5 million Iraqis. We're halfway there. It's the same ballpark now. Playing a similar game, it doesn't need to be an exaggeration in case 3.9 is the exaggeration number. That's a 9/11 every 10 days for 21 years. That's a 9/11 every 10 days for 21 years. And that's not taking in consideration all the refugees we created. That's not taking in consideration all the orphans we created. That's not taking in consideration all the infrastructure that was destroyed. The businesses that were shut down, the catastrophe that the economy went through. Like this is a real crime against humanity. This is a real disaster. Arabs are 6% of the world's population. To give you an idea how big that is, the United States is 4.5% of the world's population. So there are 1 1/3 more Arabs than there are people living in the United States. Arabs are 6% of the world's population, 50% of the world's refugees. And of course, Afghans aren't Arabs, so they're not in that number. So, there's this weird thing, this disconnect, where there's this group of Americans who just can't accept that Arabs have done this to them. It's too much. Arabs are subhuman. They need to be exterminated or turned into refugees. How did they hurt us like this? Now, compared to what we did to them, it's nothing. It's a scratch. We did that every 10 days for 21 years to one country, a country 1/10 the size of the United States. There were like 28 million Iraqis when we attacked it. Texas is 29 million. So, country roughly the size of Texas.